You know that feeling, right? You're listening to English, maybe watching a movie or in a meeting, and you're following along perfectly. You get it.
Hmm.
But then it's your turn to speak, and suddenly nothing. Or like the words just won't come out right. It's that classic, I understand English, but I just can't speak it.
Oh, absolutely. So many learners feel that way. You are definitely not alone, if that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's super common. So that's exactly what we're going to get into today in this deep dive.
Right. We've looked at why this gap exists, this disconnect between understanding and speaking. And more importantly, we want to talk about some real practical ways you can start closing that gap.
Exactly. The goal here is really to help you move past just understanding and, actually start expressing yourself more confidently in English.
So let's maybe kick things off with the basics. What is the fundamental difference between, say, listening to English and actually speaking it?
Okay, yeah, good starting point.
Well, it really boils down to passive versus active skills. Listening is largely passive. You're receiving information, decoding sounds, processing meaning. Your brain's taking it in.
Like absorbing it, yeah.
Exactly. You have a bit more time. Context helps. You can sometimes, infer meaning.
Right.
But speaking, that flips the switch entirely. Now you're the one creating. You have to actively retrieve words from your memory
Find the right word.
and then arrange them into sentences, following grammar rules, thinking about pronunciation, intonation.
Mm.
And you have to do all of this pretty much instantly in real time.
Wow, yeah. When you lay it out like that, it sounds like a massive cognitive juggling act.
It really is. Think about it like watching a brilliant dancer. You can appreciate the moves, recognize the skill, understand the performance. That's listening.
Okay.
But then being asked to jump on stage and perform that same routine yourself, that's speaking. It requires muscle memory, coordination, practice, active performance. Much, much harder.
That's a great analogy. You can be a fantastic audience member. Yeah. But being the performer is a whole different skill set.
Precisely. The mental load is just significantly higher for speaking. And recognizing that difference, understanding that it is harder, that's kind of the first step. It's not about you failing, it's the nature of the skill.
Okay, so it's natural for there to be a gap. That's reassuring. But let's dig a bit deeper. Why does speaking often feel so much harder, even when your understanding is pretty solid? What are the big roadblocks?
Well, one of the biggest ones that comes up again and again is fear, specifically the fear of making mistakes.
Yes. The big one.
Right. Fear of sounding stupid, fear of people laughing, fear of forgetting a word halfway through a sentence, fear of not being understood. It's a powerful inhibitor.
I can totally relate to that, even in my native language sometimes, that fear of just freezing up. So in a second language.
Yeah, exactly. And this fear often leads to, well, silence. You hesitate, you hold back, you just don't say anything. And the less you speak because you're afraid.
The less practice you get, and the scarier it becomes. It's a cycle.
Precisely. A negative feedback loop. Hesitation becomes the default. So fear is massive. Another major factor is, quite simply, not enough actual speaking practice.
Even if you're consuming a lot of English, like movies, podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. All that listening and reading is fantastic for building your understanding, your passive vocabulary. But it doesn't directly train the speaking muscles, so to speak.
Okay.
It's like watching cooking shows. You might learn a lot about techniques and ingredients. You might even understand gastronomy really well.
But you won't become a good cook unless you actually get in the kitchen and start chopping onions.
Exactly. Passive exposure is crucial, but it doesn't translate automatically into active production skills. Your brain and your mouth need specific practice working together to produce language.
Makes total sense. Watching isn't doing.
What else? Another big hurdle for many is perfectionism.
Ooh, yeah. That desire to sound perfect, like a native speaker right from the start.
Uh-huh. And it can be paralyzing. You get so caught up trying to form the perfect sentence, find the absolute best word, use the grammar flawlessly.
That you end up saying nothing because perfect feels impossible.
Exactly. You overthink it, you hesitate, and the moment passes. The desire for perfection becomes a barrier to just communicating, to just trying. Progress gets stalled because good enough doesn't feel acceptable.
That analysis paralysis. I see how that stops people.
Definitely. And one more related point is the difference between your active and passive vocabulary.
Okay, explain that a bit.
So your passive vocabulary is all the words you recognize and understand when you read or listen. It's usually much, much larger.
Right.
Your active vocabulary is the words you can actually recall and use spontaneously when you're speaking or writing. And often, even though you might understand quite complex words passively.
You might struggle to find simpler, everyday words when you need them in conversation.
Exactly. You might understand, say, exasperated in an article, but when you want to say you felt annoyed, maybe the word frustrated or even just tired doesn't pop into your head quickly enough. There's a gap between knowing of a word and knowing how to use it on the fly.
That's a really crucial distinction. It's not just about how many words you know, but how readily available they are for you to actually speak.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've got the basic difference, the fear, the lack of active practice, perfectionism, and this active versus passive vocabulary thing. That covers a lot of ground. Now, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier, confidence. There seems to be a bit of a trap there.
Yeah, the confidence paradox, you could call it. Many people think, okay, I need to get better at English first, then I'll feel confident enough to speak.
Right. Confidence comes after skill. That sounds logical.
It does, but actually a lot of experience and research suggests it works the other way around, or at least simultaneously. You build confidence by speaking, even when you feel uncertain, even when you make mistakes.
So taking action builds the feeling, rather than waiting for the feeling to prompt the action.
Exactly. There's this great little story about a student, Ayaka. She apparently understood English grammar really well, like textbook knowledge was solid.
Ugh.
But in class, terrified to speak, just gripped by that fear of embarrassment of making a mistake in front of everyone.
Oh, I can just picture that feeling. So relatable.
Totally. And the breakthrough came when her teacher gave her this slightly unusual advice. The teacher basically said, just try speaking badly on purpose, see what happens.
Seriously, speak badly. That sounds counterintuitive.
Right. But Ayaka very hesitantly tried. She wanted to talk about her weekend, and she stumbled out something like, yesterday I go shop, buy food, good. Very broken. Simple.
And what happened? Did people laugh?
No, that was the amazing part. Apparently her classmates, the teacher, they just smiled encouragingly. They understood her meaning, and they were just pleased she was trying. They praised the effort, not the perfection.
Wow, that's actually really powerful. So the reaction wasn't negative at all.
Not at all. And that positive feedback, just for trying, was the key for her. It unlocked something. She realized the world didn't end when she made a mistake. And from there, she gradually started speaking more and more.
That's a fantastic story. It really shows that bravery, just the act of trying, is what leads to the confidence, not the other way around.
Precisely. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build, little by little, through the act of speaking itself.
Okay, this is all making so much sense.
Yeah.
We understand the gap, the reasons it's hard, the confidence piece.
Yeah.
Now, for everyone listening, the big question is, right, I get it. What can I actually do? What are some concrete strategies to improve my speaking?
Yes, let's get practical. Because there are absolutely things you can do. Strategy number one, and it might sound a bit odd at first, is to practice speaking alone.
Talking to yourself. Really?
Yeah, seriously. When you're by yourself in your room, maybe in the shower, out for a walk where no one can hear you, just start talking in English.
About what?
Anything. Describe what you see around you. Talk about your day, what you did, what you're going to do. Narrate your actions. Like, okay, I'm walking down the street now. It's a sunny day. I see a dog. Or I need to make dinner later. Maybe I'll cook pasta.
Ah, I see. So it removes the pressure completely. No audience, no fear of judgment.
Exactly. It's zero stakes practice. You're just getting your mouth used to forming English sounds, getting your brain used to constructing English sentences without any performance anxiety. It's like vocal warm-ups for speaking.
That's actually brilliant. A safe space to just get the words flowing. Okay, I like that. What's strategy number 2?
Strategy 2 is recording yourself. Use your phone, the voice memo app.
Ooh, okay. I know people sometimes find listening to their own voice a bit awkward.
It can be, definitely. But it's incredibly valuable for self-awareness. The idea is pick a simple topic, speak about it for maybe just 1 minute, record it, and then this is key. Listen back without judging yourself too harshly.
What should you listen for?
Listen for things like, where do you pause a lot? Are there words you stumbled over or couldn't find? How's your pronunciation clarity? Your pace? It's not about criticism. It's about noticing, okay, I hesitated a lot when trying to talk about X.
So you can identify specific things to maybe work on.
Exactly. And one tip is to maybe record yourself on the same topic, say a week later. Then you can compare and actually hear your progress, which is super motivating.
That's a great way to track improvement. Okay, recording yourself, got it. What's next?
Strategy 3 is a technique called shadowing.
Shadowing, like following someone.
Kind of. You listen to a short piece of audio, maybe a sentence or two from a podcast or a video clip with a native speaker. You listen, then you immediately try to repeat exactly what they said, mimicking their pronunciation, their rhythm, their intonation, the melody of their speech as closely as possible.
So you're literally trying to sound just like them right after they speak.
Yes. Pause the audio after each short phrase or sentence and repeat. It might feel a bit silly at first, like you're just parroting.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it's incredibly effective for training your mouth muscles to make the sounds of English correctly and for tuning your ear to the natural flow and rhythm of the language. It connects listening directly to speaking.
Okay, that sounds challenging, but potentially really helpful for pronunciation and fluency.
Mhm.
So speak alone, record yourself, shadow. What about actually talking with people?
Right. That leads perfectly into strategy 4. Find a speaking buddy or a practice partner.
Does it have to be a native speaker?
Not necessarily. The key is finding someone else who also wants to practice speaking English. It could be another learner at a similar level or maybe slightly higher. There are tons of language exchange apps out there now, like Tandem or HelloTalk or online groups.
Okay. And how do you make those practice sessions work well?
A really good tip is to maybe agree beforehand. Let's just focus on communicating, not correcting every little grammar mistake. Create a relaxed atmosphere.
Like a no grammar police zone.
Exactly. The goal is to practice expressing yourself, getting your ideas across, making mistakes, maybe laughing about them, and just connecting. It lowers the pressure and makes it feel more like real conversation.
That sounds way less intimidating. Focus on connection over correction. Good advice.
Right.
Okay, any other strategies?
Yes. One final one we can call the 333 method. It's designed to be a very manageable, short, daily routine.
333. Okay, what does that involve?
It's simple. 3 minutes of just speaking freely about your day or any topic, maybe like the speak alone practice. Then 3 minutes of shadowing practice using some audio. And finally, 3 minutes of recording your voice on a simple topic.
So that's, wow, only 9 minutes total per day.
Exactly. 9 minutes. It sounds small, but doing that consistently day after day adds up incredibly fast. It builds a habit, touches on different speaking skills, and it's sustainable even if you're really busy. Significant progress can happen surprisingly quickly with that kind of focused, regular effort.
9 minutes a day? That feels genuinely achievable for almost anyone. These are all really concrete, actionable steps. I love how they range from solo practice to interaction. But beyond the doing, you also mentioned mindset earlier. How important is changing the way we think about speaking?
Hugely important. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from shifting your internal beliefs about language learning and speaking. Our attitude shapes our actions.
Okay, so what are some helpful beliefs to cultivate?
Well, one really powerful one is actually accepting that it's okay to speak slowly. There's often this pressure, maybe self-imposed, to speak quickly like a native speaker.
Yeah, speed equals fluency, right?
Yeah.
That's the common idea.
But it's not true. Fluency is more about clarity and flow, being understood. It's much better to speak at a comfortable, steady pace where you can think and articulate clearly than to rush, stumble, and be incomprehensible. Clarity trumps speed.
That's such a relief to hear, honestly.
Yeah.
Speak clearly, not necessarily fast.
Got it.
What else?
Another key belief. I can be fluent with mistakes. Think about little kids learning their first language.
Oh yeah, they make tons of mistakes. I go to the park, things like that.
Exactly. They make grammatical errors, mispronounce words constantly, but are they communicating? Absolutely. They're expressing needs, telling stories. Mistakes are a totally normal, unavoidable, even necessary part of learning. Aiming for mistake-free speech too early just holds you back. Fluency and perfection are not the same thing.
That's a great point. We're often much harder on ourselves as adult learners than we are on kids.
For sure, which ties into the next belief. Progress is better than perfection. Focus on getting better over time, not on being flawless right now. Can you express a bit more today than yesterday? Can you find words a bit more easily? That's progress. Aiming for some unattainable ideal of perfection is just discouraging. Being understood is the real goal.
Celebrate the small wins. Focus on improvement, not flawlessness. I like that.
And one final belief, which is really empowering. Every sentence I manage to say is valuable practice. It reframes the whole experience. Instead of worrying if a sentence was perfect or impressive, you just see it as another rep, another small step forward. Even a simple broken sentence is practice. It's effort that counts, contributing to your overall journey. Nothing is wasted when you try to speak.
That takes so much pressure off each individual attempt. Every time you open your mouth, it's a win because it's practice. That's a great mindset.
It really is. And shifting these beliefs can genuinely change how you feel about speaking and how willing you are to actually do it.
Absolutely. Now, this also connects to how we even define fluency. The traditional idea can be pretty intimidating.
It can. Often people think fluency means sounding exactly like a native speaker from London or New York, perfect accent, complex vocabulary, no hesitation.
Which is a really high bar.
An incredibly high bar, and maybe not even the most useful one. So a more helpful way to think about fluency is simply the freedom to express yourself.
Freedom to express yourself. I like the sound of that. What does that look like in practice?
It means things like being able to ask for directions when you're lost, being able to tell a short story about your weekend, being able to describe how you're feeling, even simply, being able to join a conversation and share an opinion, even if you make grammatical errors.
So it's about functional communication. Can you get your message across?
Exactly. Can you use the language to achieve your purpose? That's the core of it. Language is fundamentally a tool for connection and communication. If you can use English to connect, to communicate what you intend, even imperfectly, you are achieving a meaningful level of fluency.
That reframes it beautifully.
Yeah.
It's not about sounding like someone else. It's about being able to express yourself. So measure your fluency by what you can do with the language.
Precisely. Focus on effective communication, not on chasing an impossible ideal of native-like perfection.
This has been so incredibly insightful. Before we wrap up, are there any final words of encouragement for listeners who are maybe feeling stuck in that understand but can't speak phase?
Definitely. First, just acknowledge how far you've already come. If you can understand English well, that's a huge achievement. Your brain is already doing incredible work processing the language.
It's a great reminder. You've already built a strong foundation.
Absolutely. And the next step is just that, a step. Start speaking. It will feel awkward at first. You will feel unsure. You will make mistakes. That's totally normal. Every single fluent speaker you admire started right there.
Everyone starts somewhere, right? No one just wakes up fluent.
No one. So the challenge is simple. Try to speak just one sentence in English today. Just one. Say it out loud to yourself. Order your coffee in English. Anything. Just take that first tiny step.
Start small, but start.
Exactly. Remember, you're not just learning a language, you're learning to unlock a new way to express who you are. It's a valuable journey. Keep listening, keep learning, but most importantly, keep speaking.
That's such a positive and empowering way to look at it. Thank you so much for walking us through all of this today. It's been incredibly helpful.
My pleasure. It's a common challenge, but definitely one that can be overcome with the right approach and mindset.
So for everyone listening, remember those key takeaways. Small, consistent actions combined with shifting how you think about mistakes and fluency can make a massive difference. Don't wait for confidence. Build it by speaking. And as a final thought to leave you with, take a moment later today and really think about it. Where in your life specifically would being able to speak English more freely make the biggest positive change for you? Let that be your motivation to start putting these strategies into practice, maybe even starting with that one sentence today.